Congratulations on the film.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I watched it this afternoon and I was very excited because it's been a long while, this one kind of gestating since I saw the original when I was a kid. It's obviously been in the ether for a long time and hasn't kind of got to this point, but thankfully we have got to this point. Is it a sigh of relief for you as an actor, given that not only there was the precedent of the fact that it took a long time to get to this point, but the fact that you shot this a couple of years ago and now finally it's seeing the light of day.
I mean, I'm so grateful and happy to be part of this project. The character I got pl to play, first of all, is, challenging, but also so amazing and fun. And there was so much to it, like the action and the physical part, preparation, the diet, the emotional arc she has in the film. That was just so exciting to be to for me to be part of this. And then I got to work with an amazing director, MJ. She's so talented and such a good-hearted human being, so knowledgeable. I got to learn so many things from her, and the cast that I got to work with and crew, like honestly, like on a human level, this was such a great experience that I'm just so happy that I got to live it and so grateful. I hope there's a second one just to do that all over again. So yeah, I'm super happy. Yeah.
When did you come into the process in the first instance? Because there was other people signed on, other directors, and all that kind of thing. When in the process of trying to get to this point, what was the juncture where you and MJ was MJ already attached to do it, or did she
Yes.
reach out to you
Yeah.
to be like,
So when I read the script, I then had a self-tape to do that was just like a simple, I guess like it was like one of the first steps. And I had like a couple scenes to do, and then, I got a call from my agents and MJ wanted to talk to me, so we did a Skype and she kind of gave me like some directions on things that she wanted to change. So then I did a second self tape, and then we had another conversation, third self tape, other conversation. Like it went on for a bit. And then I got to a point, I was in Italy shooting a show in the South. And MJ was like, listen, I have, you know, the girls that I want to see and test, for the role. But if I'm not going to, see you in person, I cannot choose you. Like I need to like, have an audition in a room. I can't. And I was so upset because I couldn't fly to LA because I was shooting every day. And LA is like 16 hours from Italy. So like it was just impossible. And then one day I got a call that MJ was coming to Bulgaria for location scouting. And she asked me to come for the weekend, like to fly there on a Friday night and then, leave Sunday morning. And I got to be in the room with her and test, and we worked for like 4 hours on different scenes and different things that she wanted to do. And it was just like amazing working with her in the room. And then Sunday I'm back home and I was with my son, and I got a FaceTime call from MJ, and I was so nervous I couldn't pick up the phone. And then she texted me. She's like, "Listen, I'm so sorry to bug you on a Sunday, but I really need to like ask you a last question before I make my decision." So like I found the courage to call her back, and I was like, "Yeah, hi MJ, what's up?" Like she's like, "Hey, like just one last question, and I'll leave you like to your Sunday. Do you want to be the next Red Sonja?" And that was like I was like so emotional and so happy. And it was such a great way to know that I got the part.
when you first got your sides to do your first video test, was it the actual script, or did she ask you to do something different? Because I spoke to people before when they've done auditions that they get sides for like something similar, something that's maybe in the
No,
ballpark of what they're going to
I
do.
actually got the script and the scenes, like the actual scenes. And obviously like like when we started shooting, some things changed and there were some like rewritings like here and there, but like yeah, it was mainly the official draft.
I assume it's dialogue heavy rather than you having to get a fake sword or something in
I
your
mean, it was a
house or
lot of
what's it?
action as well. It was a
Oh,
lot.
okay.
You think that, but it was a lot of action. Obviously, not like stunt choreographies because I had
Yeah,
never
yeah.
done sword fighting, for example. But it was a lot of like physicality in the tape, and that's so difficult to do in a tape. so difficult. But I guess it makes sense. They wanted to see like Red Sonja be physical in an
Yeah,
audition.
yeah. I read that MJ had a bit of quote unquote obsession with Red Sonja. Like it felt like she talked about how it felt like it was something she always wanted to do, and it felt like destiny that she got to do it. What was it about her passion for it that kind of got you interested in the first place? Because it seems like she is such a huge fan of this franchise, the comic books, the film, and everything else in between.
I mean, she's just like any word she says makes you passionate and want to make you listen to MJ. Honestly, like she's so knowledgeable and she's so passionate about the things she talks about, and you could see that like the first conversation we had after the self tape, like I could just you can just feel the energy and the passion behind someone that's working for something they really really want to do, and you get that immediately. And like we obviously had lots of conversations, and but she also let me like play a lot with like what I wanted to bring on the table on a creative level. And so it was like a very like just two-way relationship, like very open creativity.
In terms of I mean, it's a very physical film, and it looks like when you're watching it that you do as much as you possibly can, and you obviously got into great shape, and you've done all the choreography and everything else. Did you have to fight to do as much as you could in this film? Because I know when it comes to the stunt community, they obviously want you to be protected and everything else. But I know for you as an actor, you're probably like, well, if I'm going to do it, I kind of want to do it to as far a point as I possibly can. So did you have to kind of wrestle what you could do and what you couldn't do?
I mean, they knew, like MJ knew from the start that I wanted to do as much as possible. Like I love doing stunts. I've done sports all my life. I anything that's challenging for me is it just like becomes like super fun. So like I wanted to do as much as possible. Obviously, there's certain things where you don't want to get hurt because you're every day on set. And if you get hurt, everything gets pushed and, producers get angry. Lots of things happen. So, like, obviously, on certain things, like, galloping very fast in the middle of, an open field, for like 300, 400 meters, like that I wouldn't do, obviously, because it was also like a long shot. So, there's no reason why I should be doing that. But anything that I could, I wanted to do. And also, like, MJ didn't want to cut the fights. Like, she wanted to get full takes of fights. So, like, I basically had to do everything. And all the like rolling on the ground and, jumping on one of the soldiers and bringing him to the ground and like, the sword fightings and all the like horse stunts that we did, like laying down with the horse. And like I had to, I mean, I don't want to spoil it too much, but there's a scene where I'm injured on the horse and the horse needs to like kneel down on the ground, and I was the one who like told the horse to kneel down, because by tapping him on the like left upper leg, that's how he would do it. So like while I was acting injured, I was like tapping him on the leg and like having him go down and like do like I've done most of the stunts that I could, and I loved doing it. And everybody was very respectful about the fact that I wanted to do them. So like, and my stunt, like this, I had three stunt girls. One was for the horse, one was for like the fights, and one was like we had one thing where I was like climbing, and it was like another girl, and they were all so like just willing to teach me and protect me, but also like they were happy that I wanted to do the stunts. Like they were so like just good to me and and yeah, teaching me all kinds of different tricks. So I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah. I know for you as an actor, I can imagine being pushed to your limit in Revenge was quite a task because in that film you get pushed into certain areas and you have to do a lot of physical stuff in this. And then you do that in this. Are those the kind of characters and those situations are things that kind of attract you to what you do in your art form? Because they are very the characters themselves are quite they have a lot to kind of they have to present themselves in a certain way and they have to push to be accepted and all the stuff in there. Is that the kind of characters that you are drawn to in your career so far?
I mean, I'm drawn to like directors and people involved in the project more than like the character itself or like the script. I mean, the script for me is the basis. If you have a great script where you get like, touched by while you're reading, that's the goal, you know? And then the director is so important because usually he's the one who brings like the people together, and the people that you work with and the experience you have is such an important part of making a film to me. So that's a very important part. And then the fact that I probably unconsciously am, attracted to these characters because, you know, I grew up in Italy, and I was taught that you kind of have to like dress a certain way not to like attract attention, and like, you can't provoke because, then you're going to ask for things. And I grew up in a, like environment where like I had to kind of be more like a tomboy and like, dress like with like baggy pants and like baggy t-shirts because then I wouldn't attract, eyes on me, because things happen unfortunately, like when we were like when I was a kid, like, whether it was like someone following you or like someone on the bus touching you, like it's very common that these things happen. And when I started shooting Revenge, for me it was like we were shooting that scene before the rape, like where I, dance with the friend of my lover.
Mm.
And Coralie, like when I was dancing, she was like, I want you to be more provocative. I want you to be more like, sexy. And I was like, well, Coralie, but like more, and like that's already like a lot. She's kind of asking for it then if, I'm more provocative. And she was like, that's exactly what I want to do. Like I want to let people know that if it's a no, it's a no. Like no matter what you do before, like, or what you're wearing or what you say, if it's a no, it's a no. And that to me was such a huge lesson in my life because, you know, unfortunately I never got that lesson before. And I was, I felt like guilty sometimes for attracting attention in my life. And that really was a pinpoint for me to like, and I think that film for an audience, especially like young girls that will see that film, it's gonna tell them that, it's gonna say like a no is a no, and that's it. And Red Sonja as well, like it's such an empowering character, where she fights for the right reasons to me, like she's protecting our planet, she's fighting for animals and for her people. I mean, what's more than that, Like, so, like, yes, is obviously like there's something, and I think it's on an unconscious level. When I read a script, a character just like calls to me.
What's it like? I mean, there's so many people out there who love to see sort of the westerns, in terms of like the old-fashioned guns and what it's like to hold a gun, and then there's lightsabers. Everyone wants to know what it's like to hold a lightsaber. I grew up on He-Man, so I've always been curious as to what it's like to play with and fight with a sword, properly. I just wondered what that experience is like for you, the first kind of time that you pick it up and you get into the stunt training, because it's the sword that you have is quite mighty, shall we say. It's quite big and quite cumbersome. So did it take a while for you to kind of get to the point where you felt comfortable with it without the kind of, okay, first day, this is going to be a little bit
Yeah,
strange?
so that's how I felt. The first day I picked up the sword, I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do this. That was like the first thought because it's so heavy, even like the ones they use for training. So heavy. The wooden ones are super heavy, and the like, more like plastic, but inside the like body of the sword is metal. So then they cover it in like foam and plastic, but it's like heavy. So, and the wrist work with the sword
Mm.
is just incredible because I mean, I didn't know I had muscles in my wrist before doing sword fighting. I figured that out, that like little by little, by training with the sword every day, then my wrist would get stronger. And it's just such a like slow process. Like I didn't think I was making any progress in the training. But then, like I would see videos of like a week before and I was like, wow, like I didn't know I could do that. I didn't even think that could be me because it's such a slow process. You just have to like literally, I remember the first days, it was like all about the basic movements. It was like from up to down and then sideways and just going over and over, like moving. So, like, going forward, going backward, just doing the basics. And then little by little, you start adding, and then you have the choreography. And the first times you do the choreography, I was watching my stunt double do it. And then I would like learn all the moves. And little by little, it was like by like basically doing it in slow motion until you could get to the like real speed of the fight. So I mean, it's such a fun process. Anything, I mean, I feel like anything I get to learn from scratch, I feel it's kind of like you're a kid again and you get to learn something all over that's like completely new. And it's so fascinating to see the process. And I mean, I never got to the point of like some of the people on the set that were like stunts, and there was one guy who was also has a role, Max, who did this like he did like sword work, like sword, and the things they do, it's like unbelievable what they can achieve. So I mean, hopefully one day I get to do that.
Yeah, yeah, that would be good. That would be amazing. Did MJ? I mean, had you seen the original film, the Bridget Nielsen Arnold Schwarzenegger film? And if you hadn't, did MJ make a point of saying, "Look, this is our film. This is going to be different, even though it's the same name and the same property and all that kind of stuff. We want to make our version of the film." So did she kind of warn you off of not watching the original, or had you already seen it? Because it's a very very long time ago. It's nearly 40. I think it's 40 years or so
Yeah.
now. So it's a very different time. Time in the world, time in movie making, all that kind of stuff. So was there a did she kind of get a balance with you and saying if you have seen it, you can ignore it, but if you hadn't seen it, there's no point watching it because it's going to be very very different.
Yeah, no, so I hadn't seen it and I've never seen it. MJ asked me not to watch it because she wanted to make like this was a different version and she
Mm,
didn't probably want me to like have her in mind, like playing the character. And I feel like I don't do that in like ever. Like even
mm,
if there's like a play I'm working with, like or working on, if I do, I watch it a long time before so that I kind of like it stays there, but I forget about it. So yeah, no, I didn't watch it, and MJ asked me not to watch it because this was a completely, new version of Red Sonja that she wanted to do. And she didn't want me to be influenced by the 1985 film, yeah.
yeah, it's not Arnie's best film, let's be honest, but I'm not gonna go. I'm a huge Schwarzenegger fan. It's probably towards the bottom of his repertoire. Just quickly, I did want to ask you about you mentioned about working with horses because obviously one of the first scenes you and
Sorry,
the
what?
horses
What?
working with horses.
Yeah.
You mentioned it earlier, and there's like the wonderful scene with you and the horse waking up in the morning in the first reel that you appear, and then you're obviously very close throughout the film. And I've read at least that horses can be troublesome on set. So I just wondered what your experiences were because you talked quite highly of your experience with them just then.
Yeah. I mean, I just really loved working with the horse. Like it was such a magical experience to me because especially this like Liberty training that I got to do. The horse has no saddle, no reins, nothing, and it's just all about like creating an intimate relationship with the horse where you trust each other. So the horse starts like following you wherever you go, and then you have this kind of like I could like hug him and lie down with him on his belly and hear like his breathing and his heart. And obviously like because they're such big powerful animals and so sensitive, they get spooked with a lot of like different things like birds
Mm.
chirping or like branches falling or like things like that. And so when I was like laying down with the horse in that first scene, I had to make sure that I was calm so that the horse would feel calm and not get spooked and get up all of a sudden because a leg of a horse in your back is can be dangerous. So it was all about basically giving him it's a trust relationship, like and it was amazing to me to get to do like for me to do that because it's something that is so powerful.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!